While Carter was much more moderate than people like Goldwater or the Kochs, he very much was still against the New Deal, and he saw the Rooseveltian system as a burden on business and an impediment to the country's success. Carter was the first anti-New Deal president. His reputation today only exists because he's overshadowed by the much more radical and extensive anti-New Deal policies put forward by Reagan and Clinton. Carter's most infamous act came late in his term in 1979, when he appointed Paul Volcker to the Federal Reserve. Under Volcker, the Federal Reserve abandoned its New Deal-era program of keeping interest rates in check in order to ensure full employment and provide stability for industries like farming and construction. In order to combat inflation, Volcker intentionally triggered a recession by driving interest rates through the roof, costing thousands upon thousands of workers their jobs and driving many farmers off of their land. Volcker's recession drove Carter's popularity into the dumpster and opened the door for Ronald Reagan's landslide victory in the 1980 presidential election. But Carter's defeat didn't mark the end of Volcker's crackpot anti-worker economic program, for Reagan was the king of the radical anti-New Dealers. Reagan had fought the New Deal for decades. He openly campaigned against it and claimed that the system of partnership between American businesses, American unions, and the American government was not a boon that helped everyone benefit and share in the nation's productivity, but instead a burden that kept businesses and hard-working individuals down. It wasn't time to bring everyone to the table and create a plan to bring America into the 21st century. It was time for government and labor to get off of businesses' back. Reagan wanted to set the people free, to give the people the opportunity to live their dreams, by destroying the structures and political arrangements and political partnerships that actually created the conditions from which freedom could emerge. So Reagan embarked on one of the most radical economic programs in American history. Abandoning the long-standing strategy of a guided market economy, Reagan embraced a new free market policy. Taxes on the elite and upper middle class were cut to the bone, and regulations that structured the economy and protected American workers and industries were slashed. But most importantly, and most destructively, America abandoned its long-standing policy of protecting American industries and keeping American manufacturing inside America. The era of buy American and sell American had ended. The era of free trade and outsourcing to China had begun. And to the government, Reagan left the military. And so while there would never be enough money to build new roads or new highways or new trains, or train people or build factories or improve the American economy, there would always be money for war. And so while Reagan claimed that he was building a strong military to protect the American homeland, in reality he was simply allowing the critical industries that lay at the heart of American military power to rot away into nothing, or even worse, be shipped overseas to fuel the rise of our rivals. But for all the damage that Reagan did and all he was able to achieve, he always faced stiff opposition from the remaining New Dealers and the unions. He achieved much, but even after increased military spending and an end to the oil crisis improved the economy, he never achieved as much as he wanted to. Programs like Social Security were too popular to repeal. Critical regulations in the banking industry remained in place, and the most radical aspects of the free trade agenda were blocked. It would fall on the anti-New Deal Democrat Bill Clinton to complete Reagan's program and finalize the transition from the prosperous and stable New Deal era to the dismal Reagan-Clinton era. Aided by Republican Congressman Newt Gingrich, as the destruction of the New Deal was very much a bipartisan project, Clinton proceeded to finish Reagan's deregulation of the banks, slash the social safety net through welfare reform, and fully open up the United States to free trade with Mexico and China through the infamous NAFTA and PNTR. It was here that the rot of the Reagan-Clinton era began, and the problems which are gnawing away at the United States and its people first emerged. The program of Reaganism-Clintonism is radical and extreme in the sense that instead of building upon the past successes and past achievements of the American political tradition, it simply discards America's past as socialist and forges full speed ahead into the revolution of a free market utopia. For you see, in the utopia of the free market, Americans get something for nothing. If we just got out of the way and let business and the economy run itself, we would have prosperity for free. No need to put in any effort, no need to pay any taxes, no need for planning or structure. But like all utopian ideologies, Reaganism-Clintonism was bound to fail, because it ignored the fact that the world is built on pragmatic compromise. Ideas are all well and good, but the reality on the ground must always always come first. And so, instead of bringing America into a new period of freedom and prosperity, Reaganism-Clintonism did the exact opposite. Cutting regulation to the bone and opening the markets up to foreign trade put millions out of work and stole thousands of productive industries away from the United States. Until 1980, the nation's policy was to buy American and sell American. After Reagan and Clinton left office, the policy became to buy Chinese. The factories and mills and chemical works and fabrication plants that are the heart and soul of the American economy are now in China, because by abandoning the American system and embracing free trade, we decided that it was more important for a company to make an inflated profit off the back of cheap labor than it was for that company to do what's right for America and for the American people. While the loss of industry is by far the biggest blow which America has received from the Reagan-Clinton agenda, almost equally as bad is the rebalancing of power and rights which occurred due to the abandonment of the American system in the New Deal. Since the New Deal era, the American political tradition had stressed class compromise and bringing everyone together to govern the republic as equal citizens. Government, business, and labor would run the country together, checking each other and ensuring that no faction became too powerful by relegating the American government to a secondary role in American life and waging ceaseless wars against their political opponents in the Union, up to and including shipping industries that were heavily unionized off to China to break the back of political opposition. Reagan and Clinton drastically destabilized the balance of American politics. Businesses now ruled, and those who were outside this system, workers and farmers and small businesses, had to simply learn how to survive in a new political reality where big businesses ruled and came first and everything else came second. As a consequence to the second Gilded Age, a new era of business lords and robber barons, economic disparity has absolutely exploded. We are no longer a country of equal citizens governing together, but instead we have become a country where the few rule and the many must obey. Why would the government address the opioid crisis, or help struggling small towns, or bring back the factories, when the average citizen can't compete with the flood of corporate money that is corrupting our government? CEOs get their bonus, farmers get to sell their farm, and workers get to train their replacements. When we look at it this way, this shift from the American system and the New Deal to the Reaganist-Clintonist market anarchy has everything to do with America's current crisis. It turns out that the free market utopia involves lots of dying towns and a world ruled by China. And to make matters worse, we have eaten through all the gains made during the New Deal era. Computer technology created and developed during the New Deal era through robust partnerships between business, government, and labor saved the Clinton presidency through the technology boom. But there isn't going to be another tech boom. And if there is one, it's going to happen in Germany or China. The long recession that started in 2008 and the depression that is coming because of the coronavirus outbreak are the new normal of American life. This is the reality of the brittle free market economy that we have. And it's going to be the new normal for the next generation and the generation after that, unless we change course. And for the rest of this podcast, we're going to take a deep dive into the new America that Reaganism-Clintonism has created. We're going to look at the problems that exist right now, the history and politics that created them, and how we can build a better future for all Americans. A world where the Republic is strong and an honest day's work is rewarded with an honest day's pay.